As you can see here, I've got a lot of flies out here. And aside from being one of the most impressive, organized series of flies you've ever seen in your life, which I'd love to take credit for, but I stole these from my guide, Steve Mock. But what I want to get to is that even though there's all these flies here, but essentially what you're ending up with is you've still got, for example, and I'm going to start with midges, and I'm just going to go through this. And essentially what you've got here is all you're worried about with a midge is that it's the larva and then the pupa. And so essentially, and there's a little mix in here, but most of your worm-looking flies, like this little red midge and this brassy, and a lot of these flies are the same thing. What's really critical to you as a nymph angler isn't that you get the greatest new Kelly Galloup or Ken Moorish fly or whoever it is. It's that you understand what the fly is supposed to do and where you put it in the system when you're fishing. For example, all these little larvae. That larva is not going to, this red worm right here, that larva isn't designed to be way up in the water column. That's designed to be on the bottom. Think of it as a worm. It's very simple. It's floating along on the bottom of the river. And what you'll see here as midges go through the water column, as they go, it's not really hatching, it's pupating, and they pupate and they've got this little tuft of fuzzy stuff on their nose. And what you start seeing here is people that are making up that, trying to show that, and it's just telling you that the fly is going to be going up. When it starts to go up to the surface, you see these bright wings, this, something that looks like, it's supposed to look like a gaseous bubble. When a caddis emerges, when it starts to pupate and go to the surface, it gets in its nymphal shuck, in its outer skeleton, it produces a little bit of gas inside there. As it starts going up, it makes it very reflective. That's what all this stuff's trying to imitate, a reflective gas in the external or the ectoskeleton of the nymph. And it starts going up. That's all you have to remember. If it starts on the bottom, it's a nymph. If it starts getting shiny and getting stuff like this, that makes it, if you look at it and you say, well, that looks like it would float, bingo. Then we move into the caddis, and essentially what you look at, it's much like the midge. What I've got here, I've got a little hydrocyte, little stalk-up hydropsyche, and what this is designed to do is designed to look like a free-form caddis. It's crawling around on the bottom. There's two types of caddis. There's case caddis and there's free-form caddis. If it's a free-form caddis, all that means it doesn't have a case around it, nothing built around it, and generally all your free-form caddis can be very drab-looking. They're very wormish. They're just a little worm-like thing. And then once they start to emerge through the water, they'll start getting this reflective outer, they produce a gas into their ectoskeleton that makes them kind of shiny. Whenever you see something like this drifting weedy or this little primetime caddis, you can see it's very sparkly looking. All right, simple as, just like with the midges, same thing with the caddis. So all you're trying to do is to get the fly to understand where it belongs in your system. For example, this is the LaFontaine sparkle pupa. As you can see, it's got a little wing on it right there, and it's got this little antron shuck around it. It's supposed to look like that gaseous bubble. That fly is designed to fish really high in the water column because he's got a wing. He's made it up. He's almost to the surface. Frankly, I fish this as a dry as much as I do a nymph. Look at the style of the fly and realize it's coming up through the water, and so it's getting reflective. Simple as that. That's our caddis. Then we move into the mayflies, and there's a bajillion mayflies, as you can see. There's probably nothing that will outfish a hare's ear or a pheasant tail. And again, certain flies are made to be near the bottom. All these are mayflies that are somehow down near the bottom, and they're either getting dislodged or they're going to start their hatch. Whenever you see, let's just start with the basics. The hare's ear is absolutely the first mayfly nymph. It's been around forever, and in everything you see in every one of these boxes is someone else's version of the hare's ear. All right, so we went to pheasant tails. Suddenly the pheasant tail comes on the circuit, and here it is, and he's just wreaking havoc with the trout. Then suddenly you see flashback hare's ears, and beadhead hare's ears, and beadhead pheasant tails, and beadhead this, and flashback that. Remember, it's just supposed to be the nymph on the bottom of the river. In this stage, when you see a flashback or anything shiny on a mayfly, it's much like the caddis. It's one that's supposed to look like it's emerging. If you think very basic, every one of these flies is supposed to be a bottom dweller. Obviously, this little copper John's supposed to be a bottom dweller. It's all copper and it's got a bead head. And then you go into the flies do the same thing. Then they start emerging. And then what you're going to do, these are flies that are lighter. You can see there's obviously no giant bead head on them. There's nothing on them. There's maybe this little flashback. For the most part, they're just flies that are designed to look like they're moving up through the water column. But then you're going to find, just like with the caddis, hey, I have a purple lightning bug. Then you start seeing mayflies like this transitional dun. Now, if you look at this fly, it's very simple to see. It's really light looking. It's got this little wing that's almost developed. This is a fly coming up through the water column. So when you're looking at all these flies, suddenly you see this fly here, and you realize that fly is very light. It's looking like it's trying to get up through the water system. So that's the fly, and it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. I had one over here as well. I'll grab it real quick. And this one's, again, a little tiny wing, a little soft tackle. These are flies that are looking like they're going through the system, through the water column, up from the bottom to the top. Again, it's just like with the caddis. The fly starts on the bottom, moves up through the top. It's that simple. You just look at the fly. Don't overcomplicate this. It's not really that difficult. This is like the clown car of all fly boxes. These are the fly boxes that they're general attractors. We don't really know why fish, in some respects, if you can tell me why a fish eats a purple lightning bug, which is one of our best flies on this river, I mean, it's just crazy. These are the flies that are just absolutely break all the rules. For example, right here, I've got this Prince of Flash. It's a prince nymph with this giant shiny flashback. There's a big running joke that the prince nymph is the pre-emergent royal wolf. Who knows why they eat these things? Copper John was another one like that. Nothing's got a copper body. Nothing is, bright copper colored, but the fish don't understand that. They like them. So generally when I do these flies, these are my first fly below the lead. It's an attractor fly. What you'll find a lot of times is maybe it's just the flash. The fish sees it and goes over and then takes the other fly or whatever. That's how most of us fish them. We just use them as an attractor. But I can tell you that there's certain flies like that. The prince nymph, flash prince, purple lightning bug, those flies catch fish on a consistent basis. That's as much as you have to figure out. Figure out where the fly goes. Is the fly designed to be on the bottom, or is it designed to be coming up? Piece of cake.